Russia and India have reiterated their strong cooperation and partnership as the countries celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations this Wednesday. The anniversary, though, comes against the backdrop of increasing pressure from Washington, which wants India to join US-led sanctions against Moscow. New Delhi has so far maintained a neutral stance on the conflict in Ukraine. Following a summit earlier this week, Washington's top diplomat called on India to cancel its imports of Russian weapons and fossil fuels.
We continue to urge all countries to avoid major new transactions for Russian weapon systems, particularly in light of what Russia is doing to Ukraine. Every country is differently situated, has different needs, requirements, but we're looking to allies and partners not to increase their purchases of Russian energy.
And while many Western brands have closed their stores and stopped sales in Russian response to the country's actions in Ukraine, Indian retailers are in talks about filling the gap. 4 major Indian brands have already signed initial agreements. More are expected to follow after Russian franchisee operators visit India next month. Russian malls have been exploring the possibility of bringing in brands from India, China, Iran, and Turkey. Well, I'm delighted to welcome live onto the program now founder of retail consultancy firm Beyond Squarefeet Advisory, Susil DUNGARWAL, who is in Mumbai. You're very welcome to the program. Perhaps we could start with a little background, Susil. Have Indian companies tried to open stores in Russia in such quantities before, or was it practically impossible due to the dominance of Western brands?
I don't think so it was because of the Western brands' dominance. I think Indian brands were more happy to do business in India because Indian market itself is quite huge, and none of them mostly thought about going abroad. Just in the last decade or so, the Indian brands have now started going to the Middle East and certain parts of Europe. And Russia is I would say, a natural expansion to anybody who wants to grow outside this area.
What impact then do you think the trade that's being talked about, these Indian brands coming into Russia, getting a foothold on the market here, what could that have in terms of impact on trade between Russia and India?
I think it will only strengthen the trade, and I think what is good is, as it is, India is one of the largest manufacturers of fashion and cosmetics, and this trade will help both these countries to trade in a slightly more better manner, and will also create an opportunity for Indian brands to showcase their merchandise in the Russian market. And I believe Russian market is a huge and a very lucrative market. So it's going to be a win-win deal for both Russia and India.
Can Indian brands meet the needs of Russian consumers instead of Western brands?
I think more than. I am also wondering why Indian brands did not go to Russia all these years. I think we are comparatively better or as good as any Western brand. Whether it comes to quality, it comes to fashion, it comes to trends, and most importantly when it comes to fits. I think Indian brands are very universal, and most of them have a sustainable approach towards their products.
What difficulties, because there's always some, isn't there, when you try and expand into a large market, what difficulties do you think Indian companies will face, the main ones here in Russia, if they come in?
I think one of the biggest, this will be on the fit, because the Indian sizes and Russian sizes are very different. 2, I think they may be a little hitch on the foreign exchange just now, because I'm not sure whether the Indian government and the Russian government have come to a concurrence of whether or not they can do trade in ruble or rupees, or find out a mediate way to do this trade much easier and faster. Apart from these 2 things, I don't see any challenges. I only see opportunities.
How big of a difficulty could that currency issue be?
Not very difficult. I'm sure both the governments will come out with a win-win situation very soon, and there will be easy, legal, legitimate passage coming through.
Interesting. Just in terms of, because I'm sure this will interest Western firms as well, seeing how successful or otherwise such a move would be. Do you think Western firms are looking over their shoulders thinking, I'm getting a little bit nervous that if this succeeds, other countries could be next?
In fact, very surprising when we started this whole thing, I did get a lot of messages and comments on various platforms from some of the Western brands, and they obviously didn't like that Indian brands are going to enter. But I think somebody's loss is somebody's gain. So I think Indian brands and retailers are very optimistic to grow in the Russian market, and we will be able to fill in a gap which has been created not only by the Western brands but also brands which probably are not existing in that price segment. India can supply the merchandise at a much competitive price than anywhere else.
Yeah, it's a very interesting time. We watch the developments with much interest, as I'm sure you do as well. Thanks for your time today. We've been speaking to Susil S. DUNGARWAL, founder of Indian retail consultancy firm Beyond Squarefeet Advisory.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You too. Okay, we are back going underground again in moments. Join Afshin and guests today, just after the shortest of breaks. I'll see you again at the top. This is RT.